right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jake Shields podcast. Vacation's over. Jake, how was Mexico, man? First off.
Oh man, it was great down there. Super nice. Obviously, great food, great weather, beaches. It was nice and relaxing. You know, sometimes you got to get away since constant grind and training here. Took a few days off and back to work. You know, got a bunch of guys with fights coming up, and a couple girls, and trying to get everyone ready.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Whereabouts in Mexico did you go off to?
I was just in Tulum, Playa del Carmen area, so went back and forth between there. So it's Playa is super nice. Tulum's okay, a little over trendy. You have we were seeing too many influencers taking photo shoots. Actually, go down to the beach. That gets a little obnoxious, but other than that, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, my dad lives 6 months out of the year in Playa del Carmen. He gets a condo there, so I go there every winter. I like Playa better than Tulum as well.
Tulum just came a little over trendy. You know, you're down there and everyone's just taking photo shoots on the beach. You order a drink, it's like $18 for a drink. It's like, am I in New York or Mexico? What's going on here?
Yeah, when I was in Tulum, this girl was like trying to take like the perfect butt picture, and like I was like taking the photo for her. She had asked us to stop, and it was like 15-20 minutes, just like those kind of people running rampant. But we got to get into it right away. There was not a lot of MMA news while we took this little break, so that was perfect. But there was a lot of posturing on Twitter going on. You saw a lot of the Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier stuff going on. I saw Nate throw out a post that says defending in December. Does he got a fight coming up? Does he have a fight booked? I mean, you're on the inside there. I'm not going to make you say who it is. There could be contractual shit, but what's going on there? Sounds like something's ramping up.
Well, I don't know anything. I don't think anything signed yet as far as I know, but I know he's been talking to him. He wants to fight. There's obviously some big fights to be made. Him and Poirier would be a great fight. I think that would be the biggest selling fight. People want to see it.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, some people would be upset because, Poirier's supposed to be fighting Oliveira for the title, and I could understand Oliveira probably wouldn't be too happy because that's a big money fight he would lose out on. But from Poirier's perspective, I mean, look, he turned down the title fight to fight Conor, so he obviously is more concerned with making a lot more money than fighting for the title, which I would be too if I was Poirier. And the Diaz-Poirier fight is a massive, massive selling fight, so I could see that happening. And then for Oliveira, they could step in and give him Gaethje or Narush. There's other good contenders out there. So there's other possibilities the UFC could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're Dustin Poirier, I think a lot of the UFC fighters now, especially with fighter pay coming into the forefront, it's like, say whatever you want about Conor, and we're going to talk about him later because he's fucking nuts. But you got to do what makes most sense for you and your family, not necessarily always your, this legacy and whatever, because like you said, fighting Nate for him as opposed to fighting Charles Oliveira, I mean, that could legitimately be the difference between $750K, $1 million. Like it's probably that extreme, no?
Yeah, I would say probably a couple million difference. I mean, these fights, Diaz-Poirier fight is going to be massive. And I mean, Oliveira fight's big, but it's just not going to quite cross over to the mainstream. I mean, obviously me and you are going to watch it and love it. It's a great fight, but the Diaz has that mainstream stardom name now. People can't deny that. When he fights, people tune in. And I'm obviously biased being a good friend and training partner with Diaz, but I still think, hanging out with him, the mainstream people know who he is now. He's a true superstar. And Poirier, if he's smart, see that. And it's a good fight on paper too. I mean, these guys are evenly matched. They're both great stand-up. Nate has the reach. Poirier, both great conditioned. I mean, it's even from a fan standpoint, obviously I'm biased being friends with Diaz, but from a standpoint, as a fan, I look at that fight and go, oh, that's an exciting fight to watch.
Yeah, definitely one of those exciting fights to watch. I don't know if you'll be calling it exciting when it's about to happen right before the bell. I know it's always nerve-wracking when friends are in there, but hell yeah, man. It's insane. It's crazy, man. Nate is just such a superstar. He's blown up so much. Awesome to see. Now on to the next Diaz, Nick Diaz. He's got to be in full training camp mode now. He has his fight with Robbie Lawler coming up in September, I believe on the 25th. That is going to be a war. What's going on with Nick? Is he out in Vegas doing his camp, or where's he at right now?
No, originally he was supposed to be out here in Vegas training, but then Cesar Gracie, I think, wanted him there. So he came out to Vegas, swooped him up and picked him up and has him training. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing. I'm sure he's obviously in camp at this point. I mean, Nick always shows up in shape and ready, so I'm sure he's getting pushed. I think he still might come back here for the end of his camp in Vegas and train. So I'm hoping to get a chance to train with him. But yeah, right now Caesar's running the camp, getting him in shape, and hopefully that's going well.
Yeah, man, that's going to be unbelievable. I saw there was some stuff there. They actually popped Robbie Lawler back into the rankings now. If Nick wins this fight, he beats Robbie. Where do you think they end up going? I've seen Ali say that Ali, oh, he makes sense for the title against Usman again. It's one of those money things, but Nick, he's not overly old, but he's been out for a bit. How do you see him? Like, if he beats Robbie, it's like, where does this all go? Where does this go? You think he wants to still be up there and contend, or is he just looking to have fights?
I think he wants to contend, and he definitely wants to fight after that. For me, I would say it would make sense to do the Masvidal fight. That, I would have probably done that one before Robbie even, but if he beats Robbie for sure, and then have that for the number one contendership, because unfortunately, again, we're talking about money. That's probably a bigger money fight than fighting for the title, and they can really just sell the Masvidal. And then on top of that, with him winning that fight, he's a legitimate number one contender. So you're not saying like, oh, you're skipping the rankings. And then he's winning two big fights first, and then fighting for a title that he actually earned.
Yeah, it's all business, right? It all depends how it all maps out. But yeah, for him to go at Masvidal after Robbie makes actually a ton of sense. It's a way bigger fight for the UFC than Gilbert Burns or anybody. Again, It's that sell factor, right? It's all about the business end of it. Now, I saw you I know Justin Jaynes, we're going to move it on here. He ended up getting cut from the UFC, a guy who's in your gym, and but talking about the business end of things, why did they wait like, what was it, like a month and a bit to cut him on his birthday? Do you think that was intentional? Because and then like my question is, why was there an issue between Jaynes and the UFC where they wanted to stick it to him? Like, to everyone else, it was like, why the fuck would you wait for it to be his birthday?
I would think that must have just been a random mess up, like not realizing it was his birthday, because that's really like weird to cut someone on the birthday. And as far as I know, James is actually a guy who's gone way out of the way to help the UFC. He's had several losses, so I understand why they cut him, but it was
short
kind of
notice, yeah.
Because he's made the mistake of all of his fights but one he took on short notice. So he's constantly trying to do the UFC a favor by jumping in there on a week's notice, but then he was going there without a camp. So I think for like 4 fights, he went in there with no camp. So you're going into these fights not ready, not prepared. So doing the UFC a favor, but then it backfires on you. So maybe I think the moral of that story is worry about getting yourself ready before helping the UFC. I mean, maybe if you're not signed with the UFC and they offer you a short notice fight and that's your only way in, it would make sense for these young fighters. But once you're in there and they offer you a short notice fight a week out and you're not ready, it's smarter to say no, because they're still going to cut you if you're losing the fights. They might be a little appreciative, but if you lose a couple fights, you're still getting cut, whether you're prepared or not.
Yeah. You see guys do it all the time. They jump in, they take these fights against tough opponents. Guys drop out. They just think of the money in the short term. But the next thing you know, you've lost 3 fights in a row and you just get cut, or 4 fights, whatever Justin had lost. But I was just surprised at the amount of time that went in between his loss, in which people kind of had an idea that if he didn't win, he would get cut. It was just like the amount of time between his loss to the day that it cut him on his birthday. I was just wondering, like, to me, I mean, yeah, it could have just been, hey, they're not doing the cuts, or that could be when the UFC does their quarterly budget or whatever. Like, I'm sure there's some stuff that goes into it like that, but just from the outside, it looked a little bit messed up.
Yeah, maybe there's someone in the UFC that doesn't like him. As far as I know, he's done a lot for the UFC, but maybe he messed around with the guy's girls working there or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
My guess is, though, I think it was a random mess up. I think that's probably when they're doing the cuts and someone just didn't realize it was his birthday. They could have waited one more day and it would look a lot better, especially because James, he is a guy who did so much to go out of the way. He would always jump in and fight on short notice, so it's kind of disrespectful. But I think he expected to get cut because he knew, he had such a close fight and it was exciting. He knew he'd lost a couple in a row, and it's, they got to do it. So, but he's actually, I think he's just signed another fight coming up fairly soon. He's hoping to get a couple easy fights and then hop back in there. And like I told him, make sure you get camps for all your fights. Don't go in there and take, a fight in 4 days notice, because you're going to go out there and lose, and it's still a loss in your record. They don't look at it like, oh, you had 4 days notice. It's still, you lost.
Yeah, exactly. And you saw it again with like Kai Kamaka too. They end up cutting Kai Kamaka, same kind of thing, always willing to jump in, always willing to fight. Took a fight against like TJ Brown, I think it was, on short notice, and maybe even the Pierce fight he took on short again. It's like it's things like that where you're just better off sometimes worry about yourself. That quick payday. Oh shit, I can fight next week and make that money. Fuck it. Like, it probably sounds all right, but I mean, he's another Extreme Couture guy who got screwed out of it, right? Is Kamaka doing the same kind of thing?
Yeah, these guys got to look at long term instead of, you don't want to make money real quick if you're going to get cut. So it's better to focus on make sure you're winning your fight and going out there and performing.
Yeah, make sure you get those multi-fight deals and everything else that goes with it. Speaking of deals, guys, make sure you go over to fusionfightgear.com. Use promo code JakeAJJ for a great deal. You'll get 20% off of anything. Grab a rash guard, grab a gi. And if you're down under in Australia or New Zealand, don't worry, we got you covered too. www.poncho, Pancho, Michael, michael.com.au. Same promo code, same savings. Go on over there, check it out, and make sure you are prepared. Now, I want to bring up, another Extreme Couture. I know she was through there as well. Meisha Tate, she had a big win. It was also just recently her birthday, so happy birthday, Meisha Tate. Make sure we throw that in there too, right? But, she has her fight announced. She's fighting Ketlin Verera. Ketlin Verera is coming off a loss to Yana Kutsikaya. I'm terrible with the pronunciation.
Yeah.
That was on the Blades and Lewis card back in February. So she's coming off a loss, but this is another step up from what Meisha fought. And it looks like to me, they're kind of putting her on that ladder back to putting her into a position to fight for a title. First off, what did you think of Misha's performance? And then where do you see this all going for?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it went like perfect for what did she have? I think like 5 years off, and she came back and stand looked good. The wrestling looked good, the jiu-jitsu, everything flowed together. It looked like she hadn't missed a beat. She went out there and dominated. This, I don't really know much about her opponent yet, to be honest. I just found out, haven't watched her yet, but I think Misha's ready for the challenge. She's out there and she wants to go out there and fight for a title. She's not out there just to fight. She said, hey, I want to go out there and do another title run. So I'm down to help her, do everything I can to help her get prepared. And I think she's got a real shot at doing it. Obviously, it's not an easy task. There's especially with Nunes, the champion of her weight, extremely tough opponent. But I think she gets through this one and possible title shot, or maybe this and one more. But for sure, after that, she'll be fighting for a title. And I think she can do it.
Yeah, this Ketlin Verera, she's number 6 in the rankings. Tate's win put her at number 8. So they're moving her up the board, right? So I think, it's a tall order, though, because we all know a title run's great, but at the end of that title run stands Amanda Nunes. I mean, she's as bad of a motherfucker as it gets, but you know what? They need a Meisha Tate. They need a name in there. Like Amanda, like the last couple girls she's fought, it's almost not even close, right? Meisha will go in there and give her a good fight. She's got the skill set to do it.
Yeah, and Amanda's been completely running through a scary person to fight. She's been knocking girls out, but they need a big name. And, Meisha, if Meisha go out there and win, and especially look good doing it, it really helps build the fight. So if she can go out there and finish this next girl and then finish one more, it really sells that fight, makes a superstar fight for her. And she's been unable to do that. She's been dominating other than when she fought Cyborg. That was the last fight that was a mega fight for her. Yeah. Other than that, they haven't been able to build any opponents. This could be another great opponent for her.
Absolutely, man. I think it's great for the UFC. I think they've done a great job making sure that Tate gets back in there, but gets back in there the right way. And I think there's a clear path for her to get a title shot. Now, I want to talk about another one of your guys here, November 5th in Dublin, Ireland. Patchy Mix will be taking on James Gallagher. Now, Gallagher and Patchy, they have bad blood. Gallagher pulls out of the last fight. They're talking shit. First off, how's Patchy now? Is he back into camp? Is he back after it? And you going to be going over to Ireland for that or what?
Yeah, Patchy, he was in New York for a couple of weeks, just got back to town. We're just starting the camp. I mean, it's still early out. It's a ways. And yeah, this is a guy with some personal bad blood and going right into Dublin. They're going to hate us out there. We're going to have a bunch of Irish booing us and harassing us everywhere we go. So I'm definitely going with him. I don't want him getting jumped out there in Ireland. You got to make sure that, we're going to be in hostile territory. The Irish are very, very hostile when they don't like you. So I'm sure it's going to be a tough one, but never been to Dublin. I expect it to be nice other than being constantly booed and harassed everywhere we go. I think overall, hopefully people overall will be pretty good. I think they will. Before the fight, they're usually pretty rude before the fight, but after they're all right. So it should be a exciting business. And I'll have Patchy ready. I think he's going to go out there and smash Gallagher and then get the title.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that it's going to be a pretty, we saw a little touch of what Patchy's been working on at High Rollers, and what he did to Tim Elliott there. I mean, that was under a minute. He took him out, and I mean, just the work that he's been putting in is clear. And I think Patchy's going to go into his hometown and give him a smack. But for you, going to Dublin, I mean, there's double for you. You're rolling with Patchy, he's fighting Gallagher, and then there's always the Diaz and Conor stuff too, right? I'm sure they won't forget that over there as well. So yeah, I mean, hey, hopefully for the most part, you guys are able to actually get out and check out a little bit of Dublin and Ireland too. I've never been there before.
Yeah, I think it's like they half hate me, half love me, so it's a little weird. Sometimes they'll talk a little shit, but I think I'll mostly be all right. Hopefully I won't get jumped by any Irish. And Patchy at High Rollers, he actually beat Gallagher's, that was Gallagher's teammate that he dominated. So I think that probably got in Gallagher's head a little bit, like how quick he tapped out his teammate to let him know, like, hey, you're next, buddy.
Yeah, it was a clear message with all his corner guys there, which are great guys, but they're always guys that are with Gallagher, right, and roll with them. Crazy to see, man. Speaking of crazy to see, Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz are fighting, but they're not fighting in MMA. They are going to square off inside a boxing ring. They are going to be boxing. Originally, it had been heard that Anderson Silva was going to fight Logan Paul and box Logan Paul in one of those big money fights, but now that's not happening. What do you think of two MMA guys in a boxing ring? Like, to me, it's just odd.
Yeah,
like, who asked for this? Like,
have them fight MMA. I mean, if we're gonna have Tito and Anderson fight, at least put an MMA show. Why can't they do that? That'd be more interesting. I'm not really, I'm not that interested in seeing it. I mean, I'd rather see Anderson. We'll probably pick them apart. Maybe Tito will surprise me. I mean, but I would rather see those two fight in MMA. That would be a lot more interesting. And I would rather see Anderson fight Logan Paul, to be honest. As weird as that is, it's just, I mean, who knows? A good chance I may watch, but it's not something I'll go out of my way to watch.
Yeah, maybe when Logan Paul went into negotiation with Anderson Silva, maybe Anderson refused to take a dive or make him look good like Floyd did. So that's probably why that fight didn't materialize. I
think Anderson looked so good in his last boxing fight too. Maybe he started thinking twice when he went up there and picked Chavez Jr. Maybe he's like, maybe I don't want to fight him. He's tall. He's super tall. He's way bigger than Floyd Mayweather. He's got good reach, his range. I think maybe they started thinking about it was a bad matchup.
Yeah, and I think that's a safety issue for Logan Paul. I really think Anderson Silva, like, man, he looked good in that boxing match. That's the kind of guy that if he puts his mind to something, he's going to excel at it. He's just an absolute he's an absolute beauty. And speaking of absolute beauties, on this exact same card, this is actually an undercard fight on the main event, which is Vitor Belfort taking on Oscar De La Hoya. It goes down on the Triller Fight Club. First off, do you think Oscar De La Hoya can pull this off? Because when I saw them face off, like, Vitor Belfort was fighting not that long ago, and to be honest, when I saw the eye test, which it doesn't always tell the story, it looks like he could get smashed like Oscar De La Hoya. Like, this is a guy who likes to party still. Like, we don't need to sugarcoat it. Everybody knows he's a cocaine cowboy. Like, is this necessarily a great idea for him? Like,
I mean, my gut says no. My gut says Vitor is going to pick him apart, but Oscar De La Hoya was a great boxer at one time. I mean, if he's properly training, who knows? But I feel like I'm not sure their weights, but I feel like Vitor's a lot bigger as well. I didn't see the stare off, but isn't he a lot bigger than Oscar? Didn't Oscar fight around 50, and Vitor fought like 205s and 85s? I feel like he's much bigger, younger, fought more recently, does a lot less cocaine. So a lot of advantages for Vitor, as far as who is better pure boxer in their prime, I'd say probably obviously De La Hoya, but at this point, I think Vitor's gonna have too many skills for him, too much size, and definitely picking Vitor. But who knows? Oscar was a phenomenal boxer at one time. Maybe he can come in there. Maybe he's training serious, not partying. Come in and surprise us. And who maybe he's gotten a lot bigger too. I don't know what he's walking around weighing.
Yeah, no, Belfort definitely had the size advantage at the face off, but we'll see. Those Triller cards are always a little suspect for me.
Yeah.
That Ben Askren thing really did it for me, man. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it was just Askren just showed up there not willing to fight, wanted a payday, but I'm always going to be a little suspicious of anything going on with that promotion now.
He did look out of shape too.
Yeah, he didn't look great. So I mean, I know Dana White said that he hopes Vitor Belfort violently knocks the cokehead out, was what he said. So I know the
those two are always feuding, huh? I'm not sure.
It's because De La Hoya, there was the rumors of Dana starting up. What's that boxing promotion that Zuma, what's it called that he wants to do?
I'm not sure.
Dana's
trying to do a boxing promotion?
He was talking about it, right? So then Zuffa boxing. Yeah. Zuffa boxing. That was it. It was Zuffa boxing. So then De La Hoya put on that MMA card and put Chuck and Tito in there. And Chuck had no business being in there, and Tito knocked him out. And that's what got him and Dana going back and forth. He was like, what kind of scumbag are you to put Chuck in there? Like, he's like, Chuck's my friend. He's like, I love Chuck, but he shouldn't be in there. Like, even with Tito, like, same age thing, but just the head difference, right? Like, I mean, it was like a first round quick knockout, kind of a poorly matched card. So that's why I think they have issues. But the whole Triller thing makes me nervous, which is probably why Jake Paul went over and signed with Showtime. And this weekend, Jake Paul will be taking on former welterweight champion of the world and a guy that you competed against and beat in Tyron Woodley. They will be fighting on Sunday. Jake Paul is the betting favorite. Any website you're looking at, about minus 175 to minus 200. Pretty much the favorite here. But, do you think he should be the favorite, being that it's a guy like Tyron? Like, I know it's Woodley, regardless of what you think, or I know he's not a boxer. He's definitely a much better striker than Ben Askren.
Yeah, no, I think Woodley should be the favorite. I do think, Jake Paul's a pretty good boxer and has a shot. I think he's got good combinations. He's a big guy. He's athletic, but I mean, Woodley has fought at the highest level. He is past his prime. He's a little older. His style of boxing is better for MMA because he throws huge power single shots. So the gloves are going to slow that down a little bit. But regardless, this is a guy who had been a world title, multiple world titles. So he's fought at the highest level. So even if he's a little past his prime, I still think he's going to go out there and win the fight. But it is an exciting fight. If Paul wins this is big. It shows he's a real boxer, he still has steps to go. This is a guy past his prime who's more of an MMA striker than a boxer, but it would still be a huge win for Paul.
It's a win over a real fighter, right? I mean, not that Ben Askren's not a real fighter, but everybody knows that Ben Askren's never thrown a strike other than to try to set up a takedown, right? He was never, ever trying to box. And I mean, Tyron Woodley, he has a lot of violent knockouts to his credit too. And listen, this is a guy who's only ever been stopped, I think, 2 times in his whole career. Colby Covington, and then one other time in like 2013. So he's got the chin for it. You saw Jake Paul just throw those fades and then catch Askren. He was fading his left, caught him with a nice overhand right. But I mean, Tyron's too smart for that. He's not going to fall for that. Like it was easy for him to confuse Askren off the hop. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. And if it becomes a dogfight, I'm going to take the guy who, when Jake Paul was doing Disney was bashing heads, right? I mean, I know Jake Paul got into boxing for a sport. A lot of MMA guys like Tyron, I don't know a ton of his story, but I imagine he got into it. A lot of it starts with some time fighting in the street, right? And I saw that promo, and he talked about that. He was a
wrestler too. And the thing is that, Paul might feel Tyron Woodley and be like, he might feel his power and be like, oh man, I don't know if I want to be in there. He's going to feel that power, and he's going to ask a question if he wants to do it. Thing is,
it's not Nate Robinson, right?
No, he can actually hit. It's someone that can punch him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can take that power or not. The only thing is he does kind of fade because he's so explosive. He can't keep putting those punches together. So if Paul can, push the conditioning and get him tired, but that's not easy. When someone hits that hard, they can slow the pace down if he wants. He has such power. He hits guys hard. They're scared to rush in.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's honestly nuts. I honestly can't believe we live in a world where I'm looking at betting lines and Jake Paul's the favorite against Tyron Woodley. Like, still feels kind of fucked up, but that's the world we live in. I'm going with Woodley in this one. But either way, it's a big money fight. Now, I want to talk about big money things. We got money and fighter pay always being a huge issue. I just saw the UFC release. They had their best quarter in company history, Jake. So I got to ask you, what percentage do you put it on that fighters will see a pay increase?
Probably not. Like, they keep it, what are they keeping it around 15%, somewhere around there? And it's just, if they jumped to 30%, it would be, far below other sports pay, but they could double every single fighter's pay and still be making a ton of money. So the fighters hopefully will start fighting and get more pay.
Yeah. And I saw Francis too. He even said, like, I don't even feel like the champion with these guys. So you want a little more money, and all of a sudden you're a bad guy. And, Gon's got a title. And it was funny too, because when Tony Ferguson got the one card for them to bump the bonuses from 50K to 75K, they asked Dana if they were going to do that moving forward. And he said that it would put the company under. The bonus is 25K.
No, that is definitely not true. They are definitely raking in the money, and they deserve to rake in money, but the percentage they're paying is just it's not fair. They managed to convince so many fans that when a fighter asks for more money, they convince them like, oh, this guy's a bad guy. Like, how dare Francis ask for more money when he's the heavyweight champion of the world, knocking everyone out?
I know, and like such a great story, such a great marketable guy who hasn't like given his chick a judo throw onto a pile of guns or something like some other guys in the heavyweight division, like, I mean, what a great guy to have be like the face of the sport. They keep trying to push Conor down everyone's throat when it's like you have a guy like Francis who's
actually a good guy. Yeah. Actually treats people good. And yeah, to make an interim title is just so ridiculous. I mean, I like Gann, nothing against him. It was a great fight, but that should have been clearly that was the number one contender fight, not the title fight. They're going to try to sell it as champ versus champ, and that's just a lie. It's number one contender versus the champ.
Absolutely. Now, talking about the money and everything, I saw Sean OMalley. He spoke out and said that he wants the easiest fights possible, highest on the card, because for him, he's getting paid the same money anyway. Do you like that mentality?
Oh man, that's a tough call, because me personally, I always wanted the toughest fight, the biggest name. So I was the exact opposite when it went after everyone I could, the toughest, but I do understand where he's coming from. If you're getting paid the same amount, why not go for easy fights? So I'm not going to say he's wrong with his thinking, because, I mean, it makes sense. If they pay you the same amount, maybe they should pay you more if you're fighting a ranked opponent. I think they finally started paying more for main events, because when I was in the UFC, if I fought a 3-round fight or a 5-round fight, it was no difference. So you're making you're making less money per round. So I had multiple main events from fighting 5-round fights and making exactly the same if I fight a 3-round fight. So that was extremely unfair. I'm pretty sure some people's contracts do address that now. I don't know if it's official UFC policy, because if not, that's ridiculous. So as far as Malley goes, it was never my mindset. I wanted to go after the best, but I think he's a little more concerned with being famous anyways. Yeah. So if you're trying to be famous and look good fighting easy opponents, why not?
Did you ever find out after his last win when we were in Vegas? I saw on his Instagram story that he got kicked out of his after party at High Rollers. Did you ever find out what he got kicked out for?
I didn't even know he got kicked out, because I know the guys at High Rollers all hit him up and ask him. But that's you must have something pretty bad to get kicked out of your own after party. That's pretty bad, because those guys are pretty chill. They literally just smoke weed, and I don't know how you get kicked out of there, because I've seen some pretty questionable stuff and people not get kicked out. So he must have done something pretty bad.
Yeah, okay, because I had saw like he had said it that night on his Instagram, and I think I had forgot to ask you while we were there. But yeah, apparently he got kicked out of his own after party. At least that's what he said on Instagram. I'm not sure if he was joking or not. He likes to troll and wind people up on online. Speaking of winding people up online, McGregor and DC get into a beef online. All the stuff that happened with him and Poirier as well. Conor McGregor continues his Twitter antics. I want to bring this up to the Daniel Cormier thing, because he comes out with a tweet saying, oh, Cormier was at a company event or was at a business event, UFC, and he was drunk and he was, talking shit on me or whatever. I'm paraphrasing here. But my thing is, it's like, even if Cormier's there and he's had a couple beers, did Conor not like rat on him almost? Like when why even bring that up? Just be like, I don't appreciate you saying this. Why does he need to be like, oh, and are you supposed to be drinking at a company event? Like that just sounded like he was trying to tell on him to Dana.
Yeah, no, Conor's just gotten weird with his tweets, makes himself just look more and more pathetic. And I don't see what's the problem with him drinking a company event. It wasn't when he was commentating, right? Just a company event. Like they're all drinking there. Dana drinks there. I mean, I've drank with Dana at company events. That's not like, what are you ratting on him for? There's nothing to be rat on there. Any kind of, there's a company party, everyone's drinking. So I don't really see what he would get in trouble for. I mean, I could see if he got drunk right before commentating, it would be a little weird. Or like, I know some, like the ref that got accused of drinking right before his match. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but if that is true, that's not good.
It's the same guy who admitted he was drunk the entire week before the Khabib fight. He used that as an excuse. He didn't have motivation. Remember, he was busting out shots at the press conference. Like, what a friggin', like, I don't know what the hell's happened to him. That broken leg against Poirier and that going down to a loss, like he's handling that just terribly.
Yeah, no, he seems to just be spiraling worse and worse, not in a good direction. It's even though I never loved Conor, I would love to see him get back on track and get a couple wins. I never hated the guy either. He talked crap to me and my team, so I'm like, oh yeah, I don't love him, but overall, he wasn't bad for the sport because he brought so many eyes in. But he just seems to be on a downward spiral, and it's not getting any better.
No, it looks bad. It looks bad. And then you got Dylan Danis comes out and says that him and Michael Bisping have been offered a boxing match. Doesn't Michael Bisping have like an eye injury, which made him not able to fight?
Yeah, he can't see out of one eye. And Dylan Danis he completely just makes up stuff all the time to try to get attention. The guy's like one of the biggest clowns in the sport. He's 2-0 in Bellator, but fought in like complete beginners. All he does is call out people that are in contracts with different shows.
That he can't fight.
He would never call anyone in contract with Bellator. You notice he isn't calling out like Gallagher and Saucy. He's not going to call me out because I'm not in contract. I could go fight him. He calls out guys that he knows are in contract with UFC or different shows. So there's no way they can actually fight him for clout. He's not. As soon as someone signs to Bellator, he ain't calling him out because they'll go and beat him up. The guys all talk. He actually called me out for grappling matches a couple times. Even called the promoters and goes, "Oh, I want a rematch with Jake Shields because I beat him." Then I would say, "Yeah, okay." I agreed to the rematch. The promoters would call Dylan and he would ghost him. He did that several times to different promoters. I think maybe he would start doing coke or something and be like, "Oh, feel brave." And then when I actually accepted the match, both times he refused to return their messages. I'm like, this guy's a clown.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'll say one thing. It's like Conor is Conor, but I feel like all the guys around Conor are all trying to like play that role too.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get that with Danis, where he thinks he's invisible and he sits there and he starts talking shit on guys. But then when you look at his record and you went up against him. I mean, he's not that. I mean, your entire team and entire guys you've beat. Yeah, you went and beat him in his own sport. Like you all did it, right? Like I mean, even Gordon and everybody's beat him before.
But I think it's just pathetic to call out guys that are in contracts with different shows. He's very purposely who he calls out. He'll never call out any good fighters in Bellator because they can actually fight him. He'll call out guys that are contracted in a different show. And he's well aware of how the contracts work. That's why he calls out guys that he knows he's not able to fight. He's all talking for attention.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, you see all the money Jake Paul's making off the internet and that it seems like maybe he's just trying to go the internet influencer route. It's all crazy, man. But you know what? Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley this weekend. I know that there's a UFC card this weekend, but I honestly think that's the event of the weekend here. And it's definitely going to draw a ton of buzz and a ton of eyes. You going to check it out?
Yeah, I mean, I probably will. I hope no big plans this weekend, but I imagine I'll check that out, especially because I fought Tyron, know him, so I hope he goes and knocks him out. Like I've never been a big hater on the Pauls, but I would like to see Tyron go out there and get the knockout and win, and that would be good for him, especially after him leaving the UFC on not the highest notes. That'd be great to come out there and get a big knockout.
Hell yeah. And if he loses, Jake Paul has to get an I love Tyron Woodley tattoo. Whoever loses has to get a tattoo that says they love the other guy. Although Tyron said
they agree to that. That's terrible.
Yeah, but Tyron said that if he beats Jake Paul, Jake can pay his way out of it. So, at least the kid will be able to pay his way out.
That's good. He can get another $1 million because that would be money well spent. I would definitely pay my way out of that.
Oh, hell yeah. To not get another dude's name tattooed on me?
No,
absolutely.
You do not want that. That'd be pretty humiliating.
That's awesome. Guys, make sure you click the subscribe button. Jake, we'll be back next week, man.
Cool, man.